If you're wanting to rebrand your HighLevel account so that your logo shows in the top corner there, or it's your domain name that you log in with, we're going to be going through the white label settings inside of HighLevel. This is how you change your logo. This is how you change your login domain, how to make sure you've checked all the boxes, dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's, and so you can get out there and maybe continue on to SaaS mode setup and actually selling this as your own software. Or if you're just using it for yourself and you want to have the branding, this video is still going to be helpful for you. Check out the agency dashboard right here. My account already looks different. I'll get into how that happened. But in the bottom left is the settings. And then you're going to go to company. And at the top, you will see white label. That's where you want to click into, and we got a few white label settings. What does that mean? White label just pertains to rebranding, changing the look, the feel, even some of the naming conventions that you see inside of HighLevel so that it's your own. In the e-commerce space, this is called private label. In the software space, it's called white label. And so right off the bat, the first option here is your logo. You can change this. This is going to change what appears in the top left corner there. It also changes what appears on the login page. And so you can choose that logo. They've got some limitations there, but it's pretty straightforward. And my encouragement would just be, you'll see, to choose a logo that matches the ultimate colors you want to have. And so in my case, I've got white arrows on a white background. That's what I wanted. If I wanted transparent arrows and I made the background black, but the arrows white, might feel like it's conflicting there. The next piece is domains. You have your white label domain and then your API domain. Your white label domain is what you see inside of your URL. On the top bar there, this is what you log into. This is where you're inside of a sub account. This is probably the primary white label feature of folks that are reselling HighLevel is they send folks to app.mydomain.com. And so to do this off the bat, you'll see it'll look like nothing. Please enter your white label domain here. You can go ahead and type that in. In my case, I've got thedemoaccount.com. And hit add domain. The cool thing is they'll automatically handle the process of figuring out who's your registrar, how to change your DNS records, all of that you don't even need to do anymore. And so it already knows I'm inside of Cloudflare. I can go ahead and say authorize domain and we're going to be good to go. I'm going to skip that process, go through the add record manually because I've already added the record. It was just there, as we all saw. And whether you're doing it manually or automatically, I recommend the automated version, much easier. You'll be able to verify the records. It'll handle that. And then immediately you'll be able to go to that domain and it'll take you to the login screen. You'll be able to log in and your funnel editor, dashboards, all of that will be under your brand. It does take a few minutes here, but it eventually says, sounds good, good to go. It's the same process for adding an API domain. Just for your understanding, the API domain refers to certain areas inside of HighLevel that there are going to be links generated. So calendars, forms and surveys, trigger links. These are the kind of things where there's a link that's generated and you can't always customize it, right? So the default calendar embed, that's just going to be this page. The trigger links, you can't customize those on a sub account basis here. And so this is where it's important to choose something that you're okay with all of your clients using. So if you have sub accounts in here, like if you're rebranding it as a software, it's great because it's link dot whatever your software is there. But if you're using it as like an agency and you don't want your clients to, send out a calendar to someone that's like link dot theawesomeagency.com, you might want to use something generic here. So like link dot cal blah 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 .ai or something like that. But so the that's what the API domain refers to. You do want to change that. If you don't, I believe HighLevel's default will be something around like lead connector HQ. But you can personalize this. And then the last piece here, you have the option of a Google sign-on. So you can actually have Google login from the login page for folks that are using a G Suite or Google Workspace account. I will say this is gray labeled. So it does work with OAuth. It's going to show that it's connecting and authorized through lead connector. So it's not perfectly white labeled. If you're unfamiliar with that term, gray labeled means sort of generically labeled. And there are certain things where it's just limited. right? To have a Google OAuth authentication process there, you have to apply for it. You have to have a brand represented, all this sort of things. And so they, that can take weeks or months to get approved with Google. So what they do is use Lead Connector. And you'll see that in many other places like the Facebook connection, the ads connection, all of it is sort of authorized via Lead Connector. That's HighLevel's gray labeled brand, if you will. The next pieces are these policies. This is really what shows up on the login screen. It's just critical to have. You got the terms of service and then the terms and conditions. I do tell folks there's somebody in our community, Chris Lyle. He runs SaaScontractshop.com. That's how we got all of ours. That's what we use. So you can check that out if you want. He's like an OG. He's been in HighLevel since 2018. Literally, he was a client before it was called HighLevel, and he happens to be a patent and intellectual IP lawyer. So check out SaaScontractshop.com if you want help assembling these. And the last piece there, the custom JS and custom CSS. This has to do with especially external integrations, like our script runs inside the custom JS area, and the custom CSS, this is for styling. You can display different things there, and you may or may not need to fiddle around with that. And then they do have themes. They have a light and dark theme. It's pretty basic, but they do have those two themes. But if you want to go beyond that theme, that's why we have a theme builder. And so that's why mine looks a little bit different out of the gate right now, because I do have a theme version in there. But if I go to no theme, you can see the difference between completely unstyled, your default, what you'd expect there. And I've got some saved in here that are pretty dramatic in terms of how you can change the look, the feel, the font, the colors, everything that exists inside of a HighLevel account. If you want to go crazy, you should definitely check out our theme builder there. I'll make sure I'll link it down in the description. But for setting up your white label settings, and even just enough to get started, HighLevel does a great job allowing you to rebrand it, change the logo out, and then choose between a light or dark mode. And then as you saw, if you're comfortable with CSS and custom styling there, you can do that yourself as well. But things like our theme builder exists because we keep it maintained up to date 24/7 because HighLevel continues to release new things. We also have some more advanced settings in here when it comes to titling menu links. You can actually rename them inside of here. You can change the icons. You can do feature lock. There's a lot of stuff that you can do. And if you want, I'll actually make sure you get a link to the deep dive on our theme builder there. But for white label settings inside of HighLevel, that's what it comes down to. If you have any questions, let me know down below. Otherwise, I will see you on the next video.